This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
At the end of the day, if you're doing a lot of drugs, you don't have a bright future.
Right.
And if you don't have the support of your whole family that's going to help that one child that went astray, it doesn't work.
I'm happy to have you here today to talk about your history with medicine. You went on a retreat. Donna reached out to Matt about some family issues that she was going through or had happened to her in the past. And so we hooked her up and we sent her on a retreat. And we're here to talk about that and just life and women's issues. And
It's a pretty good subject.
Yeah.
I think everybody could join in on that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I met you after I met Whiz.
Right.
Because I think you started going afterwards.
Yeah.
And Yoga Joint's a great place because there's so many like-minded people that get together and they're going to do yoga, and when they're done, they're all completely sweaty and exhausted. So you get like this yoga brain. So everybody's very nice to each other. It's a good place. So I was friends with Whiz on Facebook, and I was listening to one of his podcasts or something that I saw on Facebook that I clicked on, and he was talking about ibogaine retreat. So I walked up to him. He was sitting outside on one of the chairs, and I said, Whiz, I know all about ibogaine. My youngest son, Scott, he died, let's see, it's been, I think, 8 years ago. I try and push it out of my mind. And before he died, I tried to set him up I did set it up, he just never got to it, an ibogaine treatment. And at the time you had it was only in Mexico. I don't know where they have them now.
It's mostly Mexico, Costa Rica still.
So I had it all set up, and I was going to actually go with him, and he was like, well, you do it. If I'm not going to do it, it's so scary. I go, I'll do it, like whatever it takes. If they want to do whatever they want to me, as long as you go. And then I said to Matt, but unfortunately, somehow he got himself to California, to Santa Barbara. I don't even know how any of that happened. And he died there. And so I told Matt the story, and I just looked at him, and he looked at me, and he goes, well, did you ever think that maybe Scott was getting you ready for the medicine? And I was like, no, I didn't think of that. I actually, when he said that to me, it was probably 1 year that I had just stopped going to Kabbalah. So Kabbalah was the first thing. Going to the Kabbalah Center was the first thing that really helped shape me and get me out of my just being, you talk about PTSD. So there's different degrees, but I was definitely stuck, and I couldn't see past myself, and I felt completely alone. And I probably spent 3 years going to classes there, and it really brought me out and made me realize that, we're not alone here. And that was a huge thing. So and that was like a year that I had stopped going to Kabbalah, I felt like I had everything that I could take from it. And so when he said to me, getting you ready for your journey, I thought about it for a second. I just stood silently, and I go, I'm completely ready for a journey. Like, it was just something that I felt I should do that. I should look deeper.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, and he set me up with this man, Gabriel, and he has some kind of temple in Orlando, and then he moved somewhere else. And it was completely out of my comfort zone. Like, he booked an Airbnb in Jupiter, and it was just me and him and my kids. I have 4 children. And my kids are like, Mom, you're going to meet a stranger and do a mushroom journey by yourself in a house? And I was like, yeah. I'm going to do it. I go, it's like plastic surgery. You could talk about it your whole life.
Right.
You could just freaking do it.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to do it. So I didn't even tell anybody when it was, but I booked it, I think, on or around my birthday. And I believe it was 3 years ago. And it was a lot. So I got out of the car, and I did the journey. And it's so funny because when you do the mushroom journey, it's not like how people play with the mushrooms now. They microdose, or they do it recreationally and have a drink. And that's great. That's fun. Everybody should have different methods to enjoy themselves as long as it's not abused, right? But this is completely different, whatever combination and how they grow the mushrooms for what they want to use it for. So I took the mushrooms, whatever dose he gave me.
Yeah, it was probably a heroic dose, which is no joke. That's
right.
a lot.
So
yeah.
basically you're just sitting there like nothing's happening.
Right.
And then I just closed my eyes and laid down. He set up a safe place. Which was just a mattress on the floor with a weighted blanket, and there was a Buddha, and there was music, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Plus, like, Gabriel is very, like, spiritual looking.
Yeah.
It's like his eyes are always closed, and he almost looks like Aborigine. I mean, I hope he doesn't take that the wrong way, but it's, like, completely out there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just laid down and closed my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I knew that I just didn't want to open them. I don't know if I was uncomfortable. It's hard to explain. I just felt like I was in it, and I didn't want to come out of it, and I didn't want anything else around me. I just wanted to stay in, and I never opened my eyes. And I cried the whole time, but it wasn't sobbing. I didn't realize I was crying. It was just my eyes were tearing. And the whole time my eyes were tearing, I think his mother was the one that came with him, who happened to be from Long Island. So we had
she's
that
great,
connection.
Bridget. Yeah.
Yes, Bridget. She was just kneeling next to me. So it was very safe. She kept wiping my tears. And I just stayed in that closed eyes state. And it was so unbelievable. I mean, people say, oh, it must have been horrible. You cried the whole time. And I was like, I mean, if I explain what I went through, it sounds like it wasn't fun, but the results and what you come out of it with are so monumental and life-altering that and it's 3 years later, I still don't feel like I need another one.
Right.
Like I found what I wasn't even looking for anything, because Matt had said you should set an intention. You should think about something that you want to experience before you go in. I didn't do any of that. I didn't listen to anybody. So basically, the whole time that my son was an addict, which was, I would say 8 years, which makes sense because they say that a lifespan of an addict is 8 years on opioids. So the whole time, I was just laying there, and I would look to my right, and there would be a fight. Didn't open my eyes, but I would turn to my right, and there would be a fight, and I'd be arguing, and I couldn't tell you who they were, but they were people from my life, and I kept saying, no, you don't understand. You know those nightmares where you keep trying to tell somebody something before they jump off a cliff? It was just like that. Like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. And then I would turn my head center, and I would feel just comfort. I feel like it was like my daughter's comfort. I have one daughter. I just felt her like blanketing me, like her essence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then when I would turn my head to the left, I mean, you can call it God, you could call it spirit, you could call it medicine, you can call it whatever you want. But it was just the universe telling me, it's not real. None of that's real. And then I was like, oh, right, I forgot. And that's basically how it was. Oh, I forgot. And I did that for 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And when you come out of it, you don't just gently come out of it. You pop out of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like you go through a door and you come out the door.
Yeah.
I came out the door and I sat up and I go, it's over.
That's a good analogy. Go in the door, go out the door. Yeah, really
so
is.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And so the first thing, Gabriel looks at me and goes, do you have anything you'd like to talk about? And I was like, yeah. And all of the things that I learned in Kabbalah that didn't make sense at the time that I kind of went along with. And there were a lot of things that really helped me that I learned. But there were other things that were more spiritual and more out there. And when I came out of it, I was like, yeah, totally. I go, first of all, I could see all of my children doing this. And I go, maybe they already have. I go, I'm sure Scotty has. Because there is something that you learn is that there is no such thing as time and space. And people could tell you that 100 times, but it doesn't really make sense to your brain.
Right.
Because you live in this world now.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing. I was like, it is above as it is below. And then they are all probably doing it right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and it gives you a sense of knowing that this isn't your final destination. You go and you could have come back and forth 100 times. You could have been a woman, you could have been a man. Of course, because of the Kabbalah that I took, you were never an animal. I mean, if somebody else wants to tell me why you think you might have been an animal, but it's really about being these spiritual beings that are having a human existence, and everything around us is for our entertainment and for our opportunity to be more like God. So like sharing and whatever makes you feel that way.
Right. And helping each other and
supporting each other.
Which is kind of the other thing we discussed in front of Yoga Joint. You came up, which I love. She comes up, she's like, I have a great idea, something we should talk about. But it's about, women being damaged or harmed or feeling stuck, because I think we've all felt stuck at some point in our life. Men feel stuck too, but we're women, so we're going to talk about women.
Well, we internalize more, right?
Right. And we worry because, we have children, not that the men don't have children, but the woman nature to be the mom and to worry and to hold on and to
the nurturer.
So we were talking about how we really need to find ways to help each other and not be so in your own zone, which is easy to get to because, you walk around all day and you're like, I have this to do. I have to go here. I'm worried about this kid. This kid's over here doing this. And, I have to make dinner and I have to do this. So, maybe step outside yourself every once in a while and realize that we are all one. We are all on this planet together to work together, to help each other, to be there for each other. And you have a little bit of experience with, worrying about what we were talking about with the men and how women feel stuck sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I could just speak for myself that when I went through the addiction with my son, so my son became addicted to opioids. And then, my husband also had an addiction issue. And I had 2 children from my first marriage, 2 children from my second marriage. And all I could say is that I was juggling so many things at once. I mean, really, juggling more than you could even imagine. And you think, and you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because you get used to it when you never take time to
just
heal
how you
yourself.
get through your day.
It's just how you get through your day.
Yeah.
And so there was so much happening. And before my son died, I was like, I did so many things. And I was like, well, I got my first 2 through college. My third daughter's in college. She's almost done. And Scotty doesn't seem to be, I didn't have any power over Scotty because the other person in the family that was also the addict, if he thought of his son as also being the addict, that would mean that he had no control of his life. So it's very, there's a duplicity to it. And it's very real, and I'm sure it happens more times than not that people don't talk about it.
Right.
They talk about, oh, he just did drugs and died, and he had the fentanyl and this. And even if there is fentanyl, at the end of the day, if you're doing a lot of drugs, you don't have a bright future.
Right.
And if you don't have the support of your whole family that's going to help that one child that went astray, it doesn't work.
Right.
And I reached out to so many people. I reached out to my mother. This was before she died. I reached out to my father. I reached out to my father-in-law. I reached out to my friends, my neighbors. And they were, oh, he's fine. He'll be okay. They really didn't know how to help me.
Right.
I reached out to the school. They would just keep sending him home. So basically I was completely alone for such a long time. And all I did was fight back. Every single day, I was always fighting. I was never not on edge, right? And I think that equates a little bit to how it feels to always be in your fight or flight, or if you're in a war. I mean, I don't know. I don't ever want to shoot at anybody.
Right.
I can't imagine. I'm not taking away from that experience, but it was constantly on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
And it just like gets you right in your gut, all the way up your esophagus. Like you can't. Sometimes you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And it was before my son died, I was like, this isn't going to help. I have to leave. I feel like I've lost all control. There's nothing left I can do. My son already was turning 22. And I walked out on my husband. And when I walked out, I walked through the streets of Boca Raton, and I looked up at the sky, and I was like, everything's sparkling. Like, it was my first moment of freedom, probably ever.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid. I mean, probably ever.
Yeah.
And the whole world looked different. And it was I guess that's what an epiphany is.
That weight of the world was off.
Gone. I just let it go for a second.
Yeah.
It was great. And then, I had to keep doing what I was doing and keep fighting. But things went on around me with a knowing that I had less control. And that was okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that me letting go caused anything that happened. It just did.
It was everything happens that's going to happen. Like but I feel like people are so afraid to let go of control because you feel like that's all you have. But then when you do let go, you realize how much better everybody's life could be.
Right.
It really, like you're holding on so tight.
So
that
tight.
might have been what the arguing you heard was you're fighting.
100%.
You're constant fighting, like to fight for everybody. And once you just kind of let go and everything falls, it's going to happen anyway. But,
Right.
You're more at peace and you're able to be a better version of you for the people that you love.
That was the final piece of the puzzle, was when I did the journey. And I knew that God was on my left. I don't know why it's left, but he was on my left, or she, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Was on my left. It's not real. You're okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No problem. And so that was so when I finished my journey, I was able to walk this earth knowing that no matter what I decide to do, no matter what people I let in my life or out of my life, I still walk with God.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's a gift.
Yeah.
And maybe just thinking that you walk with God is your gift, and it's a state of mind. It's something that happens chemically in your brain. And people could argue, but there is no afterlife. There isn't that. Does that even matter if it's chemically changing your brain and you get to enjoy your time on earth that much more?
Yeah.
Does it even matter?
No. Right. Yeah. You should just live the best that you can while you're here.
Right. They say one of those things, live your best life.
Yeah. It seems so cliche because people just say, like, be present, live your best life, whatever. But it's true. Like, once you focus in on yourself, but not on yourself in a selfish way, but on yourself in a way where you're a better version of you for everyone else.
100%.
It makes it like you said, does it really matter if there is or there isn't an afterlife? I mean, I want to believe that there is. Your spirit somewhere lives within. Like, I don't know if you heard Matt's podcast about his first ibogaine journey, where
did you see his sister?
His sister, yeah, and then she went into everything. So I like to believe that we are still here in everything, in the sense of, like, you're not physically in that bush right there, but you're in everybody. You're in all of your ancestors and your children and their children's children and people that you've never met in your line or that you'll ever will meet. I don't know if I find it interesting, especially with psilocybin, but I hear I've never done ibogaine, but even with the iboga, it's very ancestral, where I saw on the ibogaine, I could see people that I never knew were like images were flashing in front of my eyes. And it was almost like it was like my ancestors going all the way back. And then I could see people going forward. And it's on the psilocybin, same kind of thing. It was very Aztec-like, but you got this very feminine, like, women in my history were there surrounding me.
Oh, that's cool. Because when I came out of my journey and I was sharing I think I shared for like 3.5 hours and we had to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I started talking about all these things that I knew nothing about, like the sequencing of like nature compared to like thing and how everything's circular. Like it went on like that. And everything made me think of something else. And then I was like, how about them cow farts, right? Isn't that weird? I'm like, does that make any sense?
Yeah. It's, but I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might not, and I think people you know, when it comes to speaking about God or source or whatever, you know, I was brought up Catholic. So, you know, they make us think like he's sitting up there on a throne with a robe and he's got a long beard and he's a physical person. And, you know, he was maybe the beginning of time, but I think it's more of like the spirit of it. Mm-hmm. And it's more, you know, so, you know, when people get all wrapped up in, you know, how can you follow something that's not real? Well, how did we get here? You know, and then you just go down this whole path when you come out, especially when you come out of the medicine. You're like,
I was numb.
Yeah.
I came out and I was just like, la-di-da, everything's great. I'm not alone. This is wonderful. And it lasted for like a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then one time I'm in the elevator with my daughter and I go, God damn it. I start cursing at the elevator. And she just looks at me and she goes, she's back. She called her brother. She's back. Mom's back. And I was like, I was never missing.
yeah,
I was okay.
it's that pink cloud phase they talk about.
Is
like
that what
when
it
you
is?
come back? Yeah, the first 3 months or so, you're in this pink cloud. Like I remember when Matt came home, I knew nothing about the medicine at all. And Matt went, and he went pretty quick. Like these people were like, oh, hey, we're having this event. You want to go? And he's like, sure, I'll go. So I didn't really know what to expect. And when he came home, we're driving down the street and he's just like, it is so beautiful out right now. And I was
Everything is beautiful.
what is happening?
Look at those leaves.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got that little pink bubble phase where you're just kind of in this great, and you never want it to end.
No, you never want to.
And that actually, to go into like integration, which we stress a lot at No Fallen Heroes, is why you need such integration. Because, you know, if you're in that pink phase and you don't really integrate yourself well, or you just kind of jump back into your life as it was and you don't change habits and you don't change patterns,
it's going to keep hitting you in the ass.
you're going to in 3 months go, I need to go do this again.
Right.
But
no.
like you said, you've been 3 years out and you don't feel like
I'm
you
not,
need it again.
I made a lot of mistakes after.
Well, yeah, everybody does. That's life, right? I mean, that's life.
Yeah.
But if you just do it and then go back to your life exactly how it was, and you don't try to make any changes and you don't try to integrate yourself in this new feeling,
Yeah.
you're just going to then turn around and go, oh, I guess I just need to do it again.
It's a presence.
Yeah.
It's an etch.
Yeah.
It's etched in your brain. Like
Yeah.
lots, you know, I have troubles with boundaries sometimes with people and I make mistakes and I'm an avoidant person. So I'll just like, I'm not talking to that person again. Block, block, block.
Yeah.
And then I talk to myself and I say, it's okay to block them because, you know, they don't deserve my explanation. They shouldn't have treated me that way anyway.
Right.
Whatever story I tell myself.
Right.
But, you know, it's like anything else. You take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But as long as you have the consciousness of wanting to be that person that's more godlike,
Right.
right? That's how we started, right? That's
Well, and now you're at a point where you can step outside yourself and see what you're doing.
100%.
And then if you truly feel like that person doesn't deserve my attention, they probably don't. But if somebody does deserve your attention, now that you're stepping outside, you might be able to go, okay, Donna, let's take a break here. Maybe I will reach out, or maybe I will do something. But some people don't deserve your attention.
100%.
I mean-
No, we're here not to do that. No,
Right. No, I
they could
know.
earn it. They could earn my attention.
Right. But it's nice that you now have the sense where you can see. And I think that's the beauty of the medicine, is that you can then see things in a different way. Because like before, maybe you would be like, it would just be one and done, gray, no gray area. Like, you don't deserve my attention, you're done. But now you can step outside and go, let me see what I'm doing. You can see how you're interacting with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the combination of doing the Kabbalah, which was, I didn't grow up with any religion at all. And Kabbalah is not really a religion.
Yeah,
and,
explain Kabbalah to people because they might not
and sometimes they
understand.
say it's a cult, but my dad once said everything's a cult, which
Right.
choose your cult.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just studying the Torah,
Okay.
which is weekly, basically, and everything that is represented in the Torah is a metaphor. It represents something in your life, so your life can follow the Torah, and that's basically what it is. So it's taking the meaning of these scriptures. It's taking metaphorically, how does this affect your life? And Kabbalah teaches us that we're all one, that we all come from one. and that a piece of God lives inside of all of us, because it broke up from the endless and it lives inside of all of us. So I sometimes say to people when they're just like beating themselves up, and I'm like, but there's a piece of God in you. If you're not going to do it for yourself,
right?
Do it for that.
The piece. Yeah,
just do it for that. Try that. And I don't even know if how I explained it is exactly how it is. And I'm sure there'll be Kabbalists that would say she's got it all wrong. However it is, that the beauty of it is that it's what it means to you.
Right.
And it definitely is a spiritual awakening. Kabbalah is a spiritual awakening that brings you out of yourself and gives you the opportunity to see things in a different light. And I didn't know that was even possible.
Well, and that's a great preparation for the medicine.
Great
preparation.
It was great.
Because it seems pretty aligned, actually.
Yes.
Because we are all from one, and you got to physically see it. Rather than just read it and talk about it with people, you physically see in the medicine that we are all one.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So back to what we were saying before is that, I had so many stresses. I can't believe I didn't lose my hair. It's unbelievable.
That's great.
Thank you.
Somebody's watching out for you.
That I had so many stresses. Oh my God. And my mom was sick at the same time, and we're always having to give my dad money for things. And I mean, everything was completely out of control. Plus, living in the big house, and we were married, and there was drugs happening, and I was trying to keep my other children safe. And then in the middle of everything, one of my children had an appendicitis attack, and I wasn't listening to myself. And I was like, no, the doctor said it's just, a flu. And then of course it burst.
Oh no.
I was right. They were wrong. So I had to go through that. That was like a whole summer because he kept getting fevers and the whole thing. There was just so much on my plate.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's just more people that are walking around like that.
Yeah.
That are among us. And I could only speak for women because I am a woman. And I could only speak for a woman in a situation that had a family and was married. And it's something that needs to be addressed and needs help. And they might not even think they need help. And they might get divorced and go right into another relationship that's just going to probably mirror the one they had, or they're not going to change their feelings. And there's just so much sadness around.
Yeah.
And this, especially around here, there's so many people that are just wanting to accumulate things. They want to have money. They want to have pocketbooks. They want to have this. They want to have that. And they lose sight of what's really important. And I just noticed that that's just something that's around me. It's not like something that I wouldn't judge anybody for what they do. Great. Do what you want to.
Yeah.
It's not that, really. It's just that it's almost like more of us are just walking around without being as kind to each other as we can be.
Right.
And it's similar here.
Yeah.
It's the same in New York City. One time my son said, Mom, you got to get an apartment here. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Because it's not my favorite place.
Yeah.
And he was like, because you're the only person that says hello to strangers on the street. I was like, well, maybe we'll have to make a training class for New York.
Right.
Yeah, so I believe that there are a lot of women that would benefit from, I only know about a mushroom journey. I know there's ayahuasca, there's other kinds of things they could do, but and then they go, oh, I would never do that. There's so many people that would say, oh, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's a drug. Meanwhile, they're taking antidepressants, having 3 glasses of wine.
Right. Taking Adderall.
taking Adderall.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, I feel like, like you were saying with the, it's kind of, you bring in the one trauma from your one relationship into the next relationship. And if you don't heal it, you're just continuing it. And then you get in this downward spiral and then you're stuck. And then the women get themselves stuck because they've let go of everything that they could control in their lives, as in, what do they want to do for a career? What do they want to do with themselves? Maybe they stopped going to school because they met the man of their dreams or whatever. Then they're stuck. Then they're stuck with this guy or with the next guy or with whoever, just trying to get through their life. And I do feel like if
you see it, right?
If we could heal ourselves and, and help each other, it's hard as women, we compete with each other a lot, which is completely unnecessary, because we're all battling something. We're all going through something.
Everyone.
And when you see somebody and you're like, oh, that woman's a bitch. Well, maybe she's just having a bad day, or maybe she's in something, and maybe all she needs is, like your son said, somebody like my beautiful friend Donna to come up to you and go, how are you today? Do you
I'm
need
not, like,
anything?
weird or anything.
No, but like, or me, I mean, I'm a little more shy, but same thing. Like, you try to step outside of yourself, and even just a hello to somebody or a how are you doing might make their whole day feel better, or it might let them let go of something they were stressed out about.
But stepping outside of yourself is the first step. Like
Right.
You just said stepping outside of yourself, because you're creating peace within yourself by doing something
Yep.
like that, out of the ordinary, something you wouldn't normally do.
Yep.
You're a little proud of yourself that you did it, even if you failed. You're like, oh, I did it.
Right.
And so you have this better feeling about yourself. And that feeling is creating all of just positive, you have a positive force field around you.
Yep.
And that shit's real.
Yeah.
There's positive force fields all over.
Yeah.
And I was at the hair salon with my beautiful Kayla, and this woman came in, and all of a sudden I was like, oh. And then I texted Kayla after, and I go, is that woman okay? And she's like, oh, she's going through a divorce, and she's so nasty and all this stuff.
It's, I never really got the whole, like, positive energy thing, or people saying like, oh, your energy. Like, that didn't really resonate with me until I did the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, I think because, like you said, I was living inside my own little bubble with my own little, I had all my little people here, and I was like doing my own little shuffle thing and keeping everybody safe and not looking outside of myself. And then once you do the medicine, or some people feel this without the medicine, but for me, I was like, oh, I can kind of feel my own energy. When I'm in a bad mood, I can feel that my energy isn't good. And like you said, like somebody walks in the hair salon and you're like, oh,
ow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really a thing.
And then they say you can't destroy energy. It just changes its shape or
right.
goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
But you can't destroy energy. So the more positive energy you create,
right,
better world
the
it'll
better.
be.
Yeah. So if we all just took a minute every day and stepped outside of ourselves and said hi to somebody or did something kind, don't blow your horn at somebody the second the light changes just because you...
They talk about in the Kabbalah, right? Like, don't do that. I'm like, you sure? I mean, I just wanted to, one time. Just that stupid person that doesn't pull up at the light. Like, hello, only you get to turn.
Right. You're so much more important. Yeah.
So we're all still just human.
Right.
But the medicine just makes the human experience that much more enlightened.
Right.
Everything's lit up.
Yeah.
And, through Kabbalah, it's all about your light and sharing your light. And the whole purpose of Kabbalah is everybody to become a funnel of energy so that you're all constantly sharing light.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. We need to do all this in our lives.
Yeah.
We need to be better. We need to be better. So, well, it was nice having you.
Is it already over?
It can be.
Oh, well, there was something else because you talked about.
Yeah,
oh, no.
I wasn't sure. I didn't know how much you wanted to share.
Oh, because you talked about seeing your ancestors.
Yeah.
And when my son died, so he was 22 and he died, and of course everybody that has a son knows that they play those games, right?
Oh yeah.
On the console. What do we call them? Video games.
Yeah, yeah.
And they play the games all the time. So I'm like super depressed, and I'm like, I get in the car and I'm like, all right, if you're really there, show me a sign. And then like I turned on the radio, and it was a comedian talking about this young man that goes to heaven, and he has to teach all the other kids that are there from other years what a video game is.
Oh my gosh. You're like, you are here right now.
Okay, you're here. And then another time I was like, if you're really here, because they would be, my daughter would say, no, he'll send you coins. He sends me coins. And I go, if you're really here, there'll be a beautiful shiny penny. Only on heads. I'm only getting it on heads. And then there'd be a penny in front of me. So there's always signs.
Yeah.
But you have to just open your eyes to them.
Right.
And it's great when you open your eyes to them.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But isn't it great to think it's real?
Better. It makes your experience here on Earth better.
Yeah, so I'm a total believer.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with anything.
Right.
And that's it. It took me this long.
Yeah.
So I guess by the time I was 57, I started believing that there was more.
Yeah.
And it just went off from there. I'm not going to say how old I am.
Yeah. 57 and a half.
57 and 3/4.
Yeah, it is interesting. And, you know, when I was on my journey, I could just talking about like holding everybody in and like being in control. One of my intentions was to let go of stuff, because not that I was holding on to resentment, which I later found out that I probably was, but like just holding on to everything, trying to keep everybody safe, trying to keep everybody
It's a big job.
in their space and make sure I don't screw anybody up, which even if you do everything perfect, they're still going to therapy and talking about you eventually in life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's perfect. But I could see I was in this little dome, and it felt like I was in this dome, and my kids were all outside the dome as my protectors.
Oh, wow.
And every time something would come in the dome that I didn't like, the ladies were funny that were like sitting. They're like, you laid on your back completely straight with your hands over your heart, and you just kept turning your head.
Oh,
turning
like
your
me,
head.
Because
Yeah.
were they on your right? Like, where were they?
They just said you just kept going like this. And I don't know, I think I was just turning away from all the bad stuff that would, if something bad came in, I would go like this. And then they're like, every once in a while you would go like this, and you would stay there for a minute, because I was trying to remember, you know, being told what you resist persists. So I'm like, if I keep turning my head and trying to push it off, because I'm an avoider too, in the sense where I just don't want to deal with it. You know, like if there's an issue, I'm like,
I think it's more than that. I think
you
it's
wanna
like we
go
don't want to get in
into it?
trouble.
Right. And you don't want to like dive in.
Because we're so damaged. We don't want to get in trouble. If I did anything, I'm sorry, but we don't have to talk about it. Do we have to talk about it?
Let's just forget about it. But every time I would let something go, my dome would lift up, and it would get lighter and lighter and lighter. And it was just, you know, letting the light in.
Isn't that
and
great?
letting yourself let go of the control. And I kept like circling back to my kids being like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? And they're like, Mom, we're fine. And I'm like, you're sure? Like, you're really sure? And they're like, yeah, we're fine. But they stood there and they're like, we got you. And I was like, just get lighter and lighter. So the more you let go of your stress, everybody has stress, you can't let go of all of it. But the more you just accept things, that it's going to happen the way it's going to happen.
And you're more open.
Yeah. And
So
there's really not a ton you can do, in my opinion, to change what's going to happen, because it's going to eventually, what's going to be is going to be, you know, and you just have to try to make it the most peaceful journey for you and your loved ones and your friends and the people around you that you don't even know. You know, like we were saying, like if we could somehow, you know, I would love to drop psilocybin into everybody's water and let everybody be like, ooh,
That'd be
this
so
is
fun.
great.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Life is great. So
Life
yeah.
is so fun.
Yeah.
We could do it after yoga,
Yes.
right? Because you
Yes.
already got like the yoga brain. You're exhausted, and everybody.
Some people, I'm confused sometimes when we leave yoga though. Some people are just so quick to get out of that parking lot. They're going to crash into you. And I'm like, did you not take a deep breath in there?
Were you not listening?
Did you not get a thing? Because I used to be like, when I was saying before how I was never, like Matt started going to yoga before me, because I was like, oh, I got to go to Orange Theory. I just got to run. That's my thing. Like, that's what I like. But really, as much as that was a stress release for me, I think I also, it wasn't the same type. And I just didn't give it a chance. I just was like, nope, yoga's not for me. Yoga's not for me. And then once I started doing it, I'm like, it's a total different stress release and a total different. And actually, in all honesty, like I've lost more weight doing yoga than I did running 4 miles a day, you know, because I think your body is not in the fight or flight. Like when I'm running 4 miles, my body's like, oh God.
Oh, I hate running.
She must not going to be feeding us for a while. We better hold on to this.
I can't run. It's so hard.
I can't run anymore.
It's so hard.
My knees are a little old now. They're not happy about it.
And what am I running to or from?
Right.
There's
Now
like
I only
no
run if I'm being
destination. I didn't get it. But the yoga makes you feel like a kid again. Like for me it was because I did gymnastics as a kid.
Yeah.
So for me it's like, you know,
yeah,
I'm such and such years old. I could do a handstand. Want to see? You know what I mean? Like that's what's happening in my brain.
Right.
But you know, as I'm being the yogi in the class,
Right.
of course, I'm not acknowledging that. Just doing my thing.
Right. But you feel good about yourself that you can
feel
still do those
great.
things. Yeah. And it's nice when you work out to be able to sit back and go, you actually take a minute to realize that you're doing this for yourself. And it's okay if you can't hold all the poses. It's okay if you can't, because that's
to
the
do
thing.
anything.
Like for me and maybe a lot of other women, you don't want to disappoint people, and so you're more concerned about disappointing other people and not putting yourself first. So yoga kind of makes you go, okay, well, I can't do a handstand, and guess what? That's great.
It's okay.
But you know what? I love watching everybody else do it, and good for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good. You're able to step out of yourself and go, that's fine. That's not for me. You know?
Yeah,
And
because
so
it's all about you're getting in that zone and doing, but you're competing with yourself. You're only competing
Right.
with yourself.
Right.
So you make the things that you do better.
Right.
And I'm always competing with myself, just trying to stay in the poses because I get exhausted.
Yeah.
No matter how much I work on the breathing, which is the hardest thing in the
me
world.
too. It's hard.
I'm always like, I'm just going to lay down now.
Yeah.
I know there's 15 minutes left. And then I go, no. I'll have just a little sip of water.
Right.
And I'll go back into it. And then sometimes like just one leg will feel like it's done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I got to push through. But do I have to push through?
Right.
The conversation's in your head.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden there'll be some positive affirmation that'll come out of the instructor and you're like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
I got
that.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
You
But
don't
it is-
have to do it.
Right. And it is true, like, because, you don't, like, advocating for yourself is also what you get, I feel like, through yoga, like you were saying, because I know I'm very bad at advocating for myself still. But like when we were in Costa Rica, the first night that we did the iboga, it was a lot.
What's
like,
iboga like?
it's,
Is it what's in ibogaine?
yeah, it's the whole root. So
Okay.
ibogaine is one alkaloid that they pull out of the iboga, and the iboga is the whole root. And you eat it like it's root bark. They give you a spoonful of sawdust,
Okay.
basically, and you have to swallow it. But it was a lot, and it was very for me internal. Like the psilocybin was very visual. I could see a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This was not super visual. There were some visuals, but it was mostly like in my head. It was a lot of negative self chatter, a lot of the bad stuff you say to yourself. It was all, and then every worry I had about everybody ever in my life was coming to fruition. And I was
So it's like a purge, so it gets in your brain and gets out?
well, yeah. And I finally, the guide that I had, his name was Troy, he had said, you can speak to the medicine. And I was like, okay, that seems weird. At the time when he said that, I'm like, I'm talking to medicine. But when I was in the medicine, I was able to go, okay, hold on a second. I need you to show me what I want to see, but can you be a little softer?
Oh.
And I've said this before, and when I was interviewing somebody else or talking on the podcast with somebody else, but this white face came up in my face, and it looked like Mary or something, and then it just went away, and this calmness came over me, and all those bad self-chatters went out of my head.
Wow.
Like the roof was open on a car, and papers were flying everywhere. But my point on that is that when you do iboga, you do it 2 nights. There's 2 ceremonies.
Oh, it's big.
And it was a lot.
I can't imagine because the
Yeah.
mushroom journey for me was huge.
Yeah.
And then to
It
do
was a
that
lot.
twice, and then this is stronger than that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a longer journey. And I had a really bad headache, and I purged and all kinds of stuff. So the next day, on the gray day, I go to Troy. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this again on Wednesday. He's like, you don't have to do anything you don't want. But in my head, when I said that, I'm like, we paid for me to be here. I'm going to be disappointing people. Like, I should do it. We had a group of other, veterans there. I'm like not going to be good lead, like showing them positive, whatever. I have to do it.
Oh, you felt pressure.
I felt like pressure from myself. Nobody else is giving me that pressure. And Troy's like, you don't have to do it if you don't want. Matt's like, don't do it if you don't want. And there's like, it's your journey. Do what you want. And I was like, no, but So I sat with it that whole day. And then the next day I was like, all right, I'm going to do it because I don't want to be mad at myself for not doing it. I'm here. And, what if I might get more even than I did out of that? So I was like, just let me do a little bit. So but I was proud of myself that I advocated for myself that I would do it, but this is how I want to do it.
Okay.
I didn't just let them go.
You took more control.
Here's how. Yeah. So, I mean, it made me feel like I let go of my stress on it because I finally got to the point where I'm like, I don't have to do it if I don't want to, but I do want to do it, but this is how I want to do it. And I wasn't worried about what other people wanted which I'm really bad at. I'm like, well, what's going to make everybody else happy? What should I do? And I feel like a lot of women do that.
Yeah. That's a big hurdle.
Yeah.
And it shows up in little things.
Yeah.
It's a big hurdle.
Yeah. Like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Well, now I have to decide.
Well, I was always like yelled at, like, oh, your bra strap is showing. You can't wear that out. And now it's like I teach these pool classes and I'm like, I'm wearing a bra under this top. I'm just going to take it off here at the pool and they'll see my bra. It's okay.
It's fine.
But we live in Florida. Everybody's naked at the beach. I'm like, what's the big deal? So it's like baby steps. You have to like just take away that fear. There's so much fear.
Yeah.
And we hold on to the fear for no reason at all.
Right.
We let other people put the fear in.
Right. And, they might not even be realizing that they're putting fear on us. They
right.
might not even, it's more of what we're doing to ourselves.
Yeah.
People might be, and whatever that other person that's saying, don't let your bra strap show, don't do this, you can't do this, that's within them.
Yeah,
that has
100%.
nothing to do with you. And when you're in it, though, you're like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
I must be wrong because this is happening or that's happening. When really now, since I've done the medicine and maybe you feel this way too, I can step out and go, that's on you, buddy. That's not on me.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't said that to other people, but I am, or thought that in my head, I am really getting better at boundaries.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because I always talk about boundaries, at least on like Instagram they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting better at boundaries, getting better at making better choices, and getting better at knowing that I don't have to have a lot of friends. I don't have to, I don't have to go out. I don't have to have a man. I don't have to anything.
Right.
I have to be okay with myself.
Right. And the best that you'll be for anybody else would be when you're the best for yourself.
Yeah, but
100%.
who cares about them? It's all
Right.
about me.
Right.
Isn't that what we're here for?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you'll show up better in whatever relationship you end up finding, and you'll find something healthier when you're better for yourself.
Yeah.
In the long run.
100%.
So, and it is, and that's why they call it a journey. I mean, you did your medicine 3 years ago and you're still working on these things. And, we work on this stuff forever. It's not like like I did this journey and now I'm healed and everything's perfect. No, you're still in life. It's still a journey.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to work on boundaries probably forever. I mean, I'm not good with boundaries either, and you just have to be better for yourself and be okay with where you're at, and then the boundaries maybe will fall into place a little bit better.
Yeah. It's definitely a journey.
Yeah. It's something.
That word's real, right? Like you hear it 100 times a day. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on it.
We're on our journey.
Here we are. We got this. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming.
It was a pleasure being here.
Fun.
Great talking to you.
I know. I never get to really chat because it's always hi, yoga.
Yeah.
So we should do lunch sometime.
I'm ready.
It'd be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
all right.
you.
Well, thank you for joining Max Afterburner. Whiz will be back next week. Or actually, no, I'm here again next week.
Oh.
Isn't everybody lucky?
I'll see Whiz anyway.
Yeah. We'll see Whiz at yoga tomorrow.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for joining and have a great day. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.